Hello, everybody. So welcome to this launch of the RCDF zine. It's our second edition that we're launching. So first, I would like to actually honor today, which is the 31st of March, and it's a Trans Visibility Day, Trans Day of Visibility. I think it's important since it's still unsafe to be a person of trans experience today. So I wanted to first say you are necessary, you are beautiful, you are great, and you are magic. Thank you for being you. And I feel that everyone should honor and maybe send a message or just hug and embrace our trans friends. I don't know, Mi, would you like to maybe start with your introduction, or should I say something?
No, I can start with my introduction.
Okay.
Thank you everyone to be here. I am really excited and nervous at the same time to be at the launch. I like the call that Pierre just did about trans visibility. I don't know if you are aware of, but Brazil is the country that most kill trans people and gay in the world, unfortunately. And that's why I think I really feel deeply about this day. So, but talking about zine, which also we address some trans, gay, and LGBTQ plus in the zine. So I would like to start saying good afternoon, good evening, boa noite, or buonasera. Welcome to the open mic fashion celebration. Today we are celebrating the launch of the zine on RCDF 10th anniversary. So I hope you are here, happy as I am, and to be here, to be inspired and expired by the second edition of the Decoloniality Fashion. I would like first and foremost, I would like to thank the 35 contributors from Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Bolivia, Ecuador, Egypt, India, Mexico, Norway, New Zealand, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, the United States, and South Africa. Together, we are learning and exchanging the colonial ways to restitute what has been silenced, erased in or as in the fashion practice. As the decoloniality fashion goal is to deliver perspectives, criticism, and creative crossings to overcome the monocultural trapping of fashion history, while at the same time connecting and inspiring how fashion is lived and experienced in different places worldwide. So while I was in how I should share, I thought, since this is also an open mic, I thought how my life trajectory crossed with fashion. So today, right now, I am speaking from South Italy, and that gave me many insights into how to think and feel what fashion can be for a person who grew up in São Paulo outskirts, from a granddaughter of an indigenous grandmother and a Black grandfather, in a family that I did not like to talk about how they were ranked in the largest city in the Southern Hemisphere, and who now lives between Bahia and California and is married to Eurocentric frameworks. Luckily, I responded to a post on RCDF website because they were looking for an editor-in-chief, and after a few messages exchanged with Angela and Sandra, later Sandra welcomed me to the collective. So then, in less than a year, Sandra Niessen's nourishment to bring together a newsletter, even from Brazil, became the first zine. And now we are here to welcome the second issue, which is an experimental and plurilingual publication that challenges editorial, writing, and narrative styles, that reveals the colonial fashion narratives and praxis that must be supported and engaged in pedagogical and research methodologies to access what has been silenced and erased in the fashion epistemological framework. I hope you enjoy the publication. If not, please send us a message. I think that's the way we can grow the framework, grow and have a positive message. Of course, we are always happy to exchange ideas. And for sure, let's keep engaging the decolonial perspective, criticisms in the fashion field. And to the end, so just to conclude, I would like to leave that thought. So what are you engaging? So what are you engaging on decoloniality in fashion when we are celebrating with RCDF? To us, and I definitely would like to also to thank to Gabriela Lopez, who is our graphic designer, and James Green, who did the illustration on the cover. Thank you, everyone. I hope we have a great session.
Thank you so much for your words. I mean, it's my turn to thank you as well for this amazing coordination that you did, gathering all the beautiful works from the contributors. How many contributors again are part of the?
So we had 32 contributors.
32 contributors.
Yeah.
And as well the beautiful work of Gabriela Lopez for the graphic design. So this is as you said, this is a second publication, multilingual edition that highlight decolonial fashion praxis. Just a few housekeeping tips before we start. So I mean, it's an open mic, so please don't be shy about discussing your process. Some of the contributors are here, I can see as well in the panel. So don't hesitate to take the mic on, and including, so you can discuss your process, including how it was to conduct your research and share it. And as well, what obstacle maybe discoveries or encounters you faced through this work. I received so I sent an email asking if anyone wanted to contribute or prepare something. I think everybody was busy, but Julia Vanni replied that they would like to maybe share something with us. I don't know if Julia is there.
Falar sobre como foi o meu processo, é isso?
Isso. Só fica atenta.
O processo em relação à escrita do artigo para o Zine ou do que eu quis passar?
As duas coisas. Só que lembra que você tem, tipo, 3-5 minutos.
Certo. Eu escolhi falar sobre a escrevivência de moda no Zine porque muitas vezes a gente observa a moda como algo distante da nossa própria realidade, ao invés de trazê-la para nós mesmos e pensar em todas as interseccionalidades que existem dentro desse processo. Que você pensar a decolonialidade como um projeto que não é linear, que não é nessa questão cartesiana de passo a passo, de que ela está sempre em curso, faz pensar o quão importante é a gente refletir sobre os impactos da decolonialidade da moda em nossa vida e se entender nesse processo, se colocar também como parte disso e não como algo distante, mas como algo que está em curso, como algo que está sendo vivido, como uma relação que é construída de idas e vindas, de altos e baixos, e escrever sobre isso também é político, porque também fala sobre os nossos marcadores sociais de diferença. A minha trajetória como mulher negra e periférica na moda, com a moda, né, no caso, é diferente de outras pessoas que vêm de outros lugares, de outras regiões, que tem outras pautas para colaborar. Então, eu falei sobre a escrevivência, que foi trazida pela autora Conceição Evaristo, que trabalha a questão de você escrever e viver como um ato político de resistência, justamente para a gente trazer a moda para perto de nós, para perto da nossa trajetória e pensar politicamente sobre ela. Pensar como é que a gente se percebe nesse processo de reconhecimento de nós mesmas e do que a gente quer para o nosso trabalho.
Acabou? Is that everything you want to share?
Sim.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much.
Obrigada. Thank you.
Obrigado.
De nada.
So, of course, you can as well use the chat to ask any questions or even share something. If you don't necessarily want to speak, we invite you to share your thoughts on the chat section.
If I may, Pierre, it's not really a question or a comment, but I would like to take this moment also to acknowledge that most of us are not speaking in the language that we grew up in or that we feel comfortable in. So I would just like to, each time that we, come together and unite, that we acknowledge, that we can't always express ourselves the way we would like to, and that it's not just, how do you say that, a given that we all come together in English. So thank you. And also to sit with that feeling when people speak and we don't understand. Unfortunately, here we also can't see, but usually it's just when you don't understand, it even makes you more sharp on observing people and their body language and what they, the energy that they project. So thank you all for being here and just for having that, compassion and love for each other in respecting each other's use of language.
Thank you, Angela. I actually have a question to me regarding the publication and how to compile together the different languages, because as well, like, it was a choice. I believe some of the articles, some of the contributors decided to actually just write it in Portuguese, for instance. So what can you say about this choice?
Of course, Portuguese is my native language, so it's easy to receive a submission and read and say yes or no. But at the same time, I felt, even when somebody sent a submission on English, I felt that if I were just accepting work on English or Portuguese, that'd be unfair, because then we're going to be narrow again what language could be on that situation. That was when I came to my mind the idea that even though they could send in Portuguese, so the last time we did a publication on Brazil, so I invest my own funding to do the translation. At this time, I didn't have the funding to do that. So I decided that would be a way to raise awareness that how we need to broad. I decided that would be two things: that having multiple languages without translation, even though they were written in for some people they could not read, we could also yet realize how fashion can be written in foreign language, that we don't see that in fashion magazines at all, or even in academic publication as well. And then I also, when I didn't know how to, so we have in Maori, we have also Maori language, but we also Arabic. So I also believe and rely who people were sending me in English, but also asking, please share with you your experience that is not in English or Portuguese or Spanish or any Romance language, because we need to be aware of how these words are going with fashion narratives as well. And we need to bring back the idea that we need to experience language in a different sense and aesthetics as well. So that's the idea.
To really emphasize on the multi-script and as well the plurality of voices through the publication. And in your experience, what did you enjoy the most as well, like through this process?
Probably was the challenge, because as I told you, when the first time you saw the zine, you say, oh, it's amazing. And I told you, wow, I felt relieved, because I have this idea how a publication outside of fashion framework would be. And then when you when I began the editorial process, it's not something that just came to my mind. We need to. So first, I wrote the call for the papers, and then you see what people are saying to you. So this is something that's a whole process, because you ask and people reply, and then you need to respect their work. So for me, the most challenge is to see, and for many times I exchanged that with Gabriela, where, wow, we need to respect the work, but we also need to know how we're going to be framed then. That's came the idea. If you see on as that goes on the zine, there is the covers where we are paying contribution or homage and being grateful for how RCDF is being proposing some concepts. So we have first Erica's concept on coalition, and then we have Angela's, Sandra. So how we could come together, or RCDF, how they're spreading the decoloniality on fashion on their publication, how could I, on that situation, bring them to put in dialogue. This was amazing to do that, because it was a challenge as well. Because I remember for many times, unfortunately, Gabriela is sick, she could not be here. For many times we call each other, say, well, look, could you, and at the same time, so because we have the text, we have the concept, we have the contribution, and then we need to think that how in the fashion and the sewing machine, and how we put all the dots together, the lines, is a really deeply consciousness, a lot of mindful work being played all together.
Mm-hmm. And where and about access, like where will it be accessible? Like how do you plan as well, like to make it accessible to
So right now, I just created a website. As with the first publication, we just uploaded the RCDF website. Okay. But later on, I realized that when people, so if somebody is downloading and reading, who are they? So that came to me, that would be great to have a website where even they can receive a free copy, but they're gonna be also sharing who they are, and then sharing their email. So if you access this link I just shared, you're gonna see, like, to receive a free copy, please just fill out this form. And as soon as possible, I'm gonna be sharing the first and the second edition.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may just come back to the first part that me was responding to, is that process of selection, you know, for any type of publication or any way of even having, you know, voice heard or acknowledged. There's always, let's say, especially in academic, you know, publications, but I think all sorts of publications, some sort of like a gatekeeping, some sort of like a control, or how do you say that, like a quality control management of, you know, what is valid or what is, you know, whatever good quality or excellence. Or so we made it, I think, you know, a point of not wanting to select, not wanting to be that gatekeeper who decides who gets to speak, who doesn't get to speak. And the same thing with editing. You know, you're so formatted. I mean, I'm, you know, from whatever, an academic background, and I've been doing editing in the past, like edited journals or edited books, where you then pretty unconsciously start cutting in people's work because, let's say, the English is not as it should be, or whatever, as what we consider of, you know, good quality. Whereas again, we come back to that language, and how people express themselves is at least half of their work, you know. And again, this being forced of having to express yourself in English, whereas that is not your language, you know. So even in the editing, we want to be very mindful that we don't correct the English, you know, because that is how that person speaks. That's how that person expresses themselves. So I think in that sense, we're very kind of like more in a process of unlearning, like how do we share knowledge? What do we consider whatever good quality or valid knowledge or so? And I think that's what, you know, we're trying to bring with the zine, is that it's a platform where we celebrate people and we don't either correct them or censor them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I do think that it's very important indeed. The as you say, the process of publishing for artists, for researchers, is I mean, could be tough, and you do have gatekeepers indeed. So, but I saw that this publication is, you still went through the official registration, like it has a number and a register. It's registered as an official publication, right?
This is not a book, this is a magazine. So that would be, ISSN is for magazine, it's a series, you don't need to peer review, it's different. That difference from books, for sure.
Yeah.
But the idea to have ISSN is to be, you know, we need to play with the system. So with ISSN, that kind of let people to believe that we are serious, and then they can cite us, because then that becomes like something that is serious, and it's also a way to get more people sending their work. So it's trying to play with the system while we are trying to disrupt them. So
yeah.
the idea.
And do you have in that way of publishing, do you have I mean, in this rhythm of publishing, do you have any do you want to follow a certain schedule, like once a year or once every 2 years, or do you already know?
Right now that we are publishing this one, for what I feel is for the next one, probably it's going to be early. I think that's the call. And hopefully I'm going to be inviting people to, that we create a editorial board, because I think that would be a way to also to open, not to bring more priority of voice in the editorial board, but also to help the publication to spread at the same time. As we talk, it would be also nice to have a publication tapping into a specific subject that fashion, as we already, like in the beginning of the session, how would be fashion intersecting with transvisibility? So how we need to go into deeply criticism and many topics that we have not been seeing around the fashion frameworks and books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think the style of the publication, when we think about 500 words, 1,000 words, how we can just, it's not tweet, but at the same time, when we think the academic perspective, we need to, and we are trying to be addressing some urgency topics, is also a challenge to create such a narrative in such a short amount of words, that usually the academic articles it is much longer.
Yeah. So for just, I mean, to clarify, but for this publication, did you requested a specific amount of words, or was it like an open? No,
you did 1,000 words for an interview. Did you remember?
Well, I mean, I know, but I'm.
Yeah, I think when the call was written for the first time, the idea was to have 500 words for articles, 1,000 words for interviews. When you share about coalitions, 300 words. The idea is to have this amount of word where you can probably sit and read the zine like in 1 hour. So I think there's the experience where you download the zine, you see the image, you feel, and you engage, and then say, okay, I read this.
Yeah. I see a comment on the comment section that looking forward to seeing the zine not gatekeeping like so many other publications, truly decolonizing. Sorry, sorry to leave now, best wishes. So it was from Lara Wallace. And another comment, Vero Santos, let me know what you think once you get it. XO. So yeah, I just repeat, it's an open mic, so please don't hesitate to write something in the comment section, or if you have any questions regarding the publication, the process, as well. Like, yeah, if you want to share some of your work. I see Zeka Medrado is here as well, part of the publication. Who else is here?
Veronica is part of the
Veronica,
podcast. Rodrigo.
indeed. I'm here. Danielle, yes,
Yeah, Danielle.
I'm here. So, yes, if you want to take the mic, and Doris as well. I know that it's early for you.
Yeah, no, so it's been wonderful to be part of this project, and I very much appreciated the different formats, so that you could present work that you had done, or some thinking that you know, that you've been having, and looking at it too, just to see the diversity of the storytelling. And the little project that we have in there is called is about a two fashion project that we did, which is in a lot of ways quite like this zine. So having some structure to the project, but once that structure is in place, opening it to allowing it to be, or not, you know, making the space for people to fill it in the way that they want. And yeah, so it was just a new way to put together an exhibition, indeed, to allow the participants to be the curators of the stories and the tellers of the stories, in exactly as Angela said, in their own words, often in their own language. So there are a whole lot of different languages spoken by the people as they introduce themselves. So yeah, so I just would recommend it to you to read the little article, and also to have a look at the New Zealand Fashion Museum, which houses all the content, and so you can revisit. You can visit all those people and hear them in their own words tell their story of what fashion means to them, and how they how they live, so that broader understanding of fashion that this project, that the RCDF sort of aims to to open up, really. So anyhow, I recommend it to you, and I really value the opportunity to stand alongside these other people who are engaged in new ways and different ways of doing things. So thank you.
Thank you, Doris, for your contribution, and I really loved reading as well your contribution, and how you you asked people on the street as well, like, to redefine the word fashion and what it is for them. I think it's really the red link through all the contribution is this aspect of local and community. Maybe, like, if you could, Doris, like, maybe speak about this process of actually encountering everyone and asking them, like, what is fashion for you, and why as well why was it necessary to do this?
Yeah, so the process of it, as I say, is very similar to the process of putting together a zine like this, in that we had that structure. So it wasn't just random people from the street. It was quite a deliberate attempt to have a representative selection of people. So people who represented the ethnic origins, the ethnic breakdown of the city of Auckland. So we had 3 Māori, 5 Pākehā, 2 Pacific Islanders, I don't know, 3 Asians, just that, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head the breakdown, but it just married up with the with the breakdown of the city, and also tried to cover off you know, an age range from, I think we were 23 through till I think about 73. So just to try, you know, to try and have a representation, a selection that represented the demographic really of the city. So to that extent, we exercised control or framing of the story. And after that, and I mean, we exercised framing in that we asked people to talk about how they dressed, about fashion. So not about their grandchildren or about the weather. You know, it was the conversation about fashioning your identity and how you use clothing to express who you are. So, you know, we framed it, but within that, then we stepped back and allowed people or invited people to speak for themselves.
Mhm. And precisely on the situation in New Zealand, like, is there, like, do you feel this hegemony of Western fashion, like on a day-to-day basis, like when you walk on the streets, when you
Can you say that again? Sorry, do I think this out?
sorry, yes, I'm thinking about New Zealand as a place. I mean, it's more a question because I've never been in New Zealand. I'm very curious, and I would love to visit. But like, taking this space that is so away from Europe and from Paris, like there is still this feeling of hegemony because in your article you talk about runway fashion and what's on the runways, and that fashion for everyone should be actually something that is more personal. And so there's this feeling of this coloniality of fashion in New Zealand.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, we are a colony. We are a British colony originally, but there has been a very strong movement. I mean, I think everywhere internationally, but here particularly, I mean, a stronger movement towards an individual fashion, so less dictated by the you know, the international scene, and a recognition and valuing of, I suppose, the impact of the geography. So we are a Pacific country, Oceania Pacific country, and those the immigrants into New Zealand have helped, you know, sort of shift our fashion sensibility away from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
The Fashion Museum did an exhibition in end of 2020, I think it is. I can't remember now. It's all of those COVID years have messed things up. But the exhibition we did before the two fashion exhibition was called Moana Currents, and it was looking at the Pacific, how our geography had shifted our thinking. I mean, we still have a Western model. People wear, you know, shirts and ties and suits and dresses, but it's the way of dressing that's shifted. There's a sort of a casualization that's very strong in New Zealand dress. There's also some very strong leaning towards garments that are wrapped rather than tailored, and that has much more reflective of both Asia and Pacific influence. So just really looking at and there's also it's very strong within the Pacific through colonization, of course, too, is modesty. And so we're actually quite modest dressers in New Zealand. So we do have a Western model. We wear woven textiles coming out of Europe, and we do look to the fashion magazines, and we do have H&M and COS and all the rest in downtown Auckland, downtown New Zealand. But yeah, no, there's a just a real real shift to I suppose it's sort of a more open view of what can be worn where. I think you see it too in there's quite an element that I'm seeing quite a lot of recently is ungendered clothing, and that's for across the rainbow community, but also through the cis community, that there's a lot more freedom in what's able to be worn. So I think we've got a little bit of freedom from being on the periphery.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Doris. I see a message in the chat. So Daniel Zeka would like to join the open mic. Oh,
right. May I?
Oh, Daniel. Yes, Daniel.
I'm so excited to be here, even though, especially for being online. And I would like to share my process. But first, I congratulate for the editorial result. And I'm still impressed with so many amazing arts and knowledge seen and read. I decided to write a previous text because I just feel insecure speaking other language. Also, my second language is not English. Moreover, I feel more at ease writing than think what I have said. I think I should introduce myself before. I promise we'll be short. My name is Daniel, my given name, but I'd rather be called Duns. I'm a gender person, artist, research, and teacher, and I live in Brazil. Recently, I'm graduated in visual arts and enabled the course, The Power of Podcast for Storytelling in Australia. Actually, a short time ago, I have connected with decolonial knowledge and GASP. It was not in the university. Who introduced me on the subject was my boyfriend. Well, I'm living in a terrestrial relationship and I am aware about the enormous challenges that interracial couples face. That I felt the need to know more about the culture of a Black person. Although Brazil will be a mixed country and genetically a mixed, but people here see me as a white person, and indeed I'm white. All these lines were for you to understand my work process, entitled Who Guards the Crossroads, published on Decoloniality. Now I repeat what was written in Cult, the idea of camouflage and vestige of slavery by an idea of miscegenation on and homogenization of the current population of the 19th century contributed of the fallacious creations propagated by the myth of racial democracy. Finally, I leave a quote from my favorite philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. Now I quote, "Was aus Liebe getan wird, geschieht immer in Satz von Gut und Böse." In English, what is done out of love always takes place beyond good and evil. Thank you all.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for your words, and not be too shy to actually express yourself. So thank you so much, Daniel. Zeca, would you like to speak now?
Vou falar. I will talk in Portuguese. So, Zeca, você quer falar agora?
Pode ser.
Okay.
Pode ser, sim.
I must share that Zeca, even though we share the same last name, we are not family.
Oh, I was wondering, actually. I was wondering.
But decoloniality in Brazil brought us together, and this is a good thing.
Boa tarde, né? Primeiro, cumprimento todas as pessoas presentes. Eu sou o Zeca Medrado, né? Sou pesquisador aqui do Sertão Norte Mineiro, né? Sou sociólogo, psicanalista clínico. E E antes de começar, né, a leitura do texto, eu queria saudar todas as bichas ancestrais, né, que como pesquisador eu me sinto honrado, né, em compor esse momento, trazendo essa gramática viada para essa mesa reflexiva de lançamento do Zine. Primeiramente, salve Vera Verão, salve Jorge Lafon, né, que nessa semana a gente celebrou 71 anos de seu nascimento e pela primeira vez desde o seu falecimento, né, ele foi homenageado pelo Google e se juntou às personalidades que viram iconografias do Doodle, né? E hoje, especialmente, né, nos posicionamos pelo Dia Internacional da Visibilidade Trans. Então, feitas essas observações, eu queria ler, né, de forma muito breve, em português, né, uma ancestralidade chamada Vera Verão. Epa, bicha não, eu sou uma quase mulher. E se por acaso essa fala não foi lida de forma extravagante, eu sugiro que você volte e leia novamente. Vera Verão era uma presença que não passava despercebida, com seus 1,98 de altura. Ela costurava novas percepções de corporeidade e de masculinidades. Era tudo ao mesmo tempo, explodindo o quadradinho normativo da televisão brasileira. Era um homem negro, vestindo roupas femininas e gritando ser uma quase mulher. Era uma quase mulher negra, de cabelos raspados, sobrancelhas arqueadas, que gritava suas vontades no meio da praça. Sim, no meio da praça. Por um lado, nós temos... Por um lado, desculpa. Por um lado, nós temos a Vera Verão, que cumpre uma expectativa de um roteiro humorístico no âmbito do contrato jurídico com a emissora, cujo modelo de programa está no ar na televisão brasileira desde os anos 1950. Em entrevista para a jornalista Marília Gabriela, Jorge Lafon afirmou que manter o nome de Vera Verão foi uma condição para que ele assinasse o contrato com a SBT, a emissora de televisão responsável pelo humorístico A Praça é Nossa. Vera Verão, né, está além de ser apenas uma personagem, é uma entidade, dona do seu próprio desejo, que seduz, que ginga, que desafia a própria norma. A praça amplia o seu significado, inclusive muda de dono. Ela não é mais a praça do homem branco, do terninho de tons pastéis. Agora é a praça onde sassarica Vera Verão. Do barulho, da festa e da explosão do desejo, cuja presença em si já constrói a narrativa dissidente. Então, pensar com a Vera Verão é pensar a respeito da ancestralidade da bicha preta no Brasil. Falar dela a partir de suas próprias narrativas coloca a bicha no centro do discurso, no meio da praça, protagonizando a cena com uma voz firme e escancarada. Então, se a memória é garantia de existência, pensar as dissidências sexuais com Vera Verão é pensar um mapa das contradições, das texturas, mas, sobretudo, pensar numa trajetória de arte e religiosidade escrita por ela, que estão imersas no imaginário social. Vera Verão é a elefanta no meio da sala das famílias brasileiras dos anos 90. Ela teve o poder de entrar e ser assunto em lares que não queriam falar sobre as dissidências sexuais e de gênero. E, por mais que não tenha sido compreendida ou tenha sido mal interpretada em sua época, pensar nas masculinidades que são desenhadas a partir da Vera é uma possibilidade transgressora, que constrói perspectivas não normativas. Então, ter a Vera como ancestralidade reafirma a urgência de pensar corpos e vidas viadas, que o colonialismo insiste em apagar, mas não vai. Nós somos o que somos hoje, porque antes de nós tivemos a trajetória das bichas como Madame Satã, Vera Verão, Lacraia e outras que transgrediram com a própria vida. Então, assim, salve, salve Vera Verão, salve Jorge Lafon, muito obrigado.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.
Thank you so much, Zeka, for your words.
Pierre, I know we're kind of wrapping up, and I just thought somebody that's really played such an important role in the RCDF and wrote the foreword for the zine, and I think played such an important role in many of the works that have come out of the RCDF. And I thought maybe just to read the foreword very quickly, because I think that also welcomes in a kind of thinking and a different kind of writing. So I just wanted to very quickly read Sandra Niessen's foreword. And she writes, 10 years, looking back on 10 years, to review and assess and celebrate 10 years of evolution, revolution, leadership, and so much courage, of searching, finding, and then digging deeper, of querying, discerning, and selecting, persistent against all odds. RCDF put fashion on notice, abandoned the catwalk, is trying things on more than just talk, learning to hear and listening to learn, relying on all of you because now it's your turn. From seed to tapestry, from the power of one to community, from academic critique to honoring the pluriverse, from conference to global fashioning assembly, creating while discovering a new fashionscape. During these past 10 years, RCDF has found its feet, honed its vision, gathered and shaped its community, gained its traction, inspired, challenged, and nurtured, offering safe space. RCDF is defined by this, seeking, sharing, then listening yet more deeply, walking to invent a path of compassion in fashion, undaunted. The quest to become redundant, the challenge to become mainstream, implying tasks so abundant they cannot be overseen. But now a deserved pause to review and celebrate because the Northern Star is in sight, time to lay our offerings in its light. And that was from Sandra. And just to say, thank you very, very, very much for putting together this incredible body of work as an honoring to those 10 years, what has come before us, but I think what you're offering with the zine is what's coming ahead of us. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica, for beautifully reading this text by Sandra Niessen. I would like myself as well to read something and to add. So I'm taking the words from this book from Françoise Vergès, which just actually was launched. It's called Programme de désordre absolu, so program of an absolute disorder. And I wanted to add to this somehow disorder that, taking from Françoise Vergès, is necessary, is absolutely necessary, and maybe read in French. So to add in this disorder of languages. So, and it's just a small paragraph, basically, where she speaks about this urgency and this necessity of creating collectives, because coloniality hates collectives and hates those roots projects that are actually coming from bottoms and going up. Ok, ce programme de désordre absolu nous invite à nous informer des luttes, si petites et mineures soient-elles, pour la dignité de la vie, à apprendre de ces luttes, à nous organiser et à mener un travail d'imagination urgente, en réactivant des utopies émancipatrices et pragmatiques et en continuant de créer des institutions post-racistes, post-patriarcales et post-capitalistes. La tradition historique des utopies émancipatrices dans tous les domaines, éducation, soins, culture, organisation sociale et politique, est une ressource inestimable et les formes actuelles qu'initient des collectifs, des mouvements féministes, antiracistes et anti-impérialistes dans les Amériques, en Asie, dans les Caraïbes, en Afrique et en Europe offrent des modèles et d'autres manières de faire famille et communauté, de faire école, de prendre soin, de cultiver, de créer, de faire institution. Nous sommes loin d'être démunis. So she beautifully ends this paragraph saying that in English, I translated it, I use depot, I'm sorry, but we are far from being deprived. And I found it very, very, very strong, and it gives a lot of hope as well, saying that we do have strength. And this is an example tonight of, I mean, for some people it can sound very, very, very small and very insignificant, but I think for us it is, that this zine is out, and it has a certain significance, and we will share it to our friends and family, and then it can just spread all over the planet like we wish. So I don't know if anyone would like to add something. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap up. I thank you all for your generosity and being here today and tonight and this afternoon, wherever you are on this earth. Thank you as well, Doris, for your words. And I know it was very early for you to be here, but yeah, you did. So thank you so much for this. I don't want to have the last word, so please, you can just finish, let's say.
This is tough because it's I don't know. I just to say I am honored to be here, like sharing this zine and all the contribution. Thank you for I don't know. Sorry, I was not expecting at all to have the last word. So yeah, I just want to thank you everyone who sent up their contribution. Also, thank you RCDF for this wonderful trajectory that is bringing us together. And I hope, as we said yesterday, we can celebrate the next 20th years in 10 years from now, and we keep engaging to disturb decoloniality everywhere, anywhere, every time you have such possibility. Have a good night, have a good evening, and probably now we have the fashion fields, and you're all invited to stay with us.